Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and as of yesterday, we got ourselves another PTR build for the upcoming patch of 11.05, WoW's 20th anniversary. Though a majority of this update is going to focus on the content and the features of the 20th anniversary update, we also do have some class changes that follow, with them really focusing on ironing out the class fantasy and the gameplay elements of playstyles such as the Dark Ranger Hunter or the Totemic Shaman. And Shamans, in fact, is one of those classes that's receiving a huge swath of visual improvements with brand new Ascendance forms, which they've actually improved further based on community's feedback. It's kind of a long one, so I want to dive into it immediately, but as always, if you want to see more regular War Within updates, be sure to follow the channel. Otherwise, let's dive right in. You know, I'm starting to get pretty used to all of these Shaman changes and this much Shaman love appearing over in the PTR. This week in particular, they took a lot of the feedback from the Shaman community regarding the new Ascendance forms, and they've improved it, or at least I think it is much more improved. So it's very similar to the original form, minus the wild hair, which has been brought down a bit, and now it has a helm that kind of overwraps around its face, and massive shoulder pads, which give it a little bit more width, I believe. And there's a couple of different variations of these, one for every element, so one for elemental, one for enhancement, one for restoration, and it also has slight adjustments depending if you are a female or male model character. Now, they did also announce that the other variations, like the original one with the crazy hair, as well as the initial Ascendance form, which I think was added either back, pretty sure it was Miss Pandaria, although the model looks like one of those Ascendants from Cataclysm, both of those are still available for you to get once this update goes live. You'll just instead end up getting both of those through glyphs that can be found in the Shaman Order Hall if you've ever played the expansion of Legion, or if you've ever done the beginnings of the Shaman Legion storyline, which if you haven't done it before, maybe you came in during Shadowlands or War Within or Dragonflight, if you've never touched anything when it comes to Legion expansion, I think now might be a good time for you to at least go and do the intro just to unlock the Shaman Order Hall so you can have access to the vendor that'll be able to sell you those glyphs for gold. And I think that is the best thing they could do in this situation, giving players more choices and more options of how you can customize your Shaman. Whether you like the wild hair option or you didn't like it, maybe you prefer the original version of Ascendance, or if you like this new version with the armor around the head and whatnot, all of those are available and are going to be made available once 11.05 goes live, which is probably the best thing that we could really see out of this. And honestly, I think seeing more customization options and like class flavor like this for the class of Shaman, but also some of the stuff we're getting with Hunter as well, I think is really good to see. This isn't like the impactful class changes like talents and hero spec adjustments and balance tuning, but I think adding more visual variety for classes is something I always want to see going forward. Though this week's build does feature a couple of more adjustments for elemental enhancements specifically. So far on the channel, we've been able to cover quite a lot of stuff for both of those two specs, which are getting a huge swath of changes. There are some stuff for restoration too, but this update primarily focuses on elemental and enhancement, and both of those are getting even more new stuff as this build. So far over the patch 11.05, Elemental took a variety of different changes, from them bringing up Stormkeeper up to make it a core ability no matter if you're playing Lava build or Lightning build, plus new ways to modify how your abilities interact with the Stormkeeper ability, couple of new ways for you to be able to empower your Maelstrom spenders, and even changing the way that Ascendance works, which has been probably one of the biggest changes so far, where Ascendance now still causes your Shaman to send a lava burst at nearby targets and applies Flame Shock for free, so you don't need to pre-set up a bunch of Flame Shocks ahead of time, but it now plays around more with your Mastery Overload mechanic, which makes the stat of Mastery better, but also allows it to be used with Lightning builds or Lava builds, so you could get Mastery value out of either playstyle that you want, which opens up both Shaman playstyles, I guess it opens up more talent combinations and more talent choices in terms of how you end up constructing your build. Plus the move Ascendance towards the middle side of the talent tree so you could really get full value out of it. And they changed a little bit how deeply rooted elements works to work off of your Earth Shocks, Ele Blasts, or Earthquakes instead of Lava Bursts, which again opens it up to both Lightning as well as Lava builds. But this week's build, they're also continuing to further improve on the damage counterpart of Shaman. Right now, if you're playing the live version of Shaman, you probably would have noticed that just about everybody right now is playing a Farseer playstyle of Shaman that is mostly just Chain Lightning or Lightning Bolt focused, where you don't really press Lava Burst for any reason whatsoever. The only time you would even think about pressing Lava Burst is maybe when you use the ability of Primordial Wave to then follow up with a Lava Burst immediately to get a bit of cleave. From there on, you just Earth Shocking or Earthquaking, and you spam in Chain Lightning or Lightning Bolt as much as humanly possible. And that is all you've been doing so far. So they're trying to make the Lava Burst playstyle a little bit better. So as part of this week's build, we're seeing some adjustments like Lava Burst gaining a 10% damage increase. Not crazy, but the fact that Lava Burst can synergize with a variety of abilities such as Primordial Wave, for example, to cleave to multiple targets, that makes it a little bit better as an ability in terms of the overall tuning. Also, the way that it functions with Ascendance, which Lava Bursts immediately at 100% effectiveness to nearby targets, gives it a little bit more credence when it comes to its AoE playstyle. They also took the talent of Erupting Lava, which increases the duration of Flame Shock by 6 seconds and is damage now by 50%. Originally, this was bought by 25%, but they amped it to 50% to make spreading flame shocks and actively maintaining flame shocks as kind of like a dot component of the gameplay just a little bit stronger. Lava Burst also consumes up to 3 seconds of that flame shock, instantly dealing that damage. And Lava Burst overloads benefit at 50% effectiveness. So if you can maintain flame shocks, Lava Burst consume a portion of this flame shocks or empowered version of flame shocks damage over time component and allow it to instantly erupt, adding the damage towards lava. So now you have a little bit more of an active playstyle where you're flame shocking, lava bursting in order to consume your flame shocks quicker to then reapply it back up and then continue consuming. It's a little bit of a different playstyle overall. But imagine the combo of using Ascendance that applies flame shocks to targets instantly and then lava burst them at the same time to then have erupting lava consume those shocks immediately. Although I feel like the damage, at least first impression damage of erupting lava, I feel like maybe that could be just a little bit better. Tuning by no means is final. I think they're mostly just trying to figure out how much damage should all of these abilities do at the end of the day, but I guess to some degree, I gotta say, I am a little bit sad that a lot of you guys never get to experience the Lava Shaman build. Though we got to play during the alpha and mostly the beta of the War Within development, because it was a ton of fun. It gave you a very different experience, but also kind of a similar. Like right now, Shamans are playing heavily into lightning-based builds where you just spam Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning, and you mostly ignore Lava Burst. Well, the Fire build or the Lava build did the opposite. It actually spammed Lava Burst as much as possible in single target and in AoE, and it kind of ignored Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning. So we went from spamming Lava Burst and Elemental Blast, and then Blizzard saw that and they kind of had a bit more of an overreaction and maybe an overcorrection, where we went into the opposite direction, where now we're still spamming a singular ability, we just changed it from the Lava element to the Lightning element. And I think what they're trying to do is bring the Shaman back into that balanced state where you want to use both of those elements at the same time, where there's room for lava and room for lightning to coexist in the same field. So, like I said before, tuning is by no means final, and hopefully at the end of the day, Shamans will be able to utilize both playstyles and will be able to make more thematic builds going forward. Then we also got some new stuff for the spec of enhancement as well. Earlier this week, we got to see a little bit of that enhancement rework and a little bit of the adjustments that the spec is getting, which all look really, really good. But apparently as of this week, they got a couple of more stuff working properly. Like last week, Ascendance wasn't really working as intended, and they're really doing some cool stuff for enhancement Ascendance. Anything from reducing its cooldown down to 2 minutes if you go all the way into Thorum's Invocation talent, but also adjusting deeply rooted elements in the way that it functions to make it better. Last week, Ascendance wasn't really working with Storm Strike appropriately, but now it does. So when you do press your Ascendance ability, you are now then able to spam your Wind Strike ability fairly aggressively, which was not really a thing that was fully functional as of last week. But it seems certain aspects have not been touched at all, like the amount of wolves that you can generate as this build in particular. Like you'll notice me just generating a bunch of wolves with this talent over here of Flowing Spirits. We could have almost an entire zoo of wolves constantly active all at the same time, which makes for a very, very interesting experience overall. You can see I have 4 wolves active all at the same time. At some point I had up to 8 wolves at the same time, I think, which, I mean, you can see it's still got a lot of randomness to the proc. I don't know if this is still an intended mechanic, but this could open up some opportunity for enhanced Shamans to just have a ton of ghost wolves at the same time, which is a lot of resources, but also a bunch of stacking buffs. So if you're playing someone like Elemental Wolves, for instance, you're going to be getting a lot of those elemental stacks overlapping each other all at the same time. It seems like a lot of wolves. I think they somehow found a way to exacerbate this talent to be even more ridiculous than it was last week. Because last week you could get like up to 8 wolves out at the same time, which is, I think, the peak. I need to double check to make sure how many I got that time around, but yeah, it's pretty hilarious. And if they haven't touched this talent, I wonder if this is intended for it to function with your tier set. When you summon a wolf, you summon an extra one, and you just constantly summon one, which makes it two. I think that's gonna make this tier set absolutely broken when this talent actually goes live. However, with Ascendance being as effective as it is right now, they did end up changing it for deeply rooted elements to decrease its proc rate a bit. First of all, they adjusted deeply rooted elements to be even more consistent. It now procs off of casting Tempest, Lightning Bolt, or Chain Lightning, and you use your Maelstrom abilities quite regularly, whether you play a full Stormy Ascendance enhancement build, or if you're playing like the Elementalist build. But either way, no matter which spec of Shaman you play, casting your Lightning abilities, your Chain Lightning or your Lightning Bolt, is how you're going to be able to proc deeply rooted elements, which you will do far more regularly than spamming Storm Strike. So you actually can get benefits from this talent from either build. But they reduced the proc rate from, I think it was a 7%, if not 8% proc rate to 6, which is going to impact it a little bit. But I think it's mostly just to bring down its proc rate just because you get more regular uses of abilities that could potentially proc the deeply rooted elements. And lastly, they fixed the totemic earth element imbuement or earth whirling elements, where the direct damage of Index Flame Shock is increased by 300% and it's applied to 5 nearby targets. What used to happen is when you drop down the totem and you would Lava Lash, your Lava Lash could spread Flame Shocks to multiple targets and it would actually consume your Whirling Earth buff. It doesn't do it anymore, which I think is better because there's some synergy where you actually would want to control when you want to use the ability of Flame Shock and have a little bit more of a lineup for it, which I think would make the Totemic Shaman build in particular very, very interesting to play into overall. Because of the talent of Voltaic Blaze, which procs from using other abilities, which empowers your Flame Shock to be far more effective, doing a lot more damage than a normal Flame Shock. The crit damage for it is good, and it can cleave to multiple targets. So if you can save up a charge of Voltaic Blaze and then use it with your totem as kind of like a setup combo, this would make Totemic playstyle overall a probably a really good combo build. Because every time you drop down the totem, you can activate Hot Hand guaranteed just by pressing the ability of Lava Lash. So you have guaranteed control over a very RNG mechanic. If you can combine together the Voltaic Blaze with the Earth Shock, with the earthy buff, that also give you quite a bit of value. And you can also combine the certain totem together with something like Primordial Wave, which works off of your Chain Lightnings and Lightning Bolts to zap the totem, causing it to unleash a Surging Bolt back at the target. So there is some very direct burst combo that you can utilize, whether it is a Surging Bolt, whether it is a Lava Lash spam, or getting the Voltaic Blaze, which could do decent bit of single target damage, but primarily is there for that cleave element. Either way though, Elemental and Enhanced are both seeing even more updates as of this week of PTR, and apparently this week we also got some raid testing, so I cannot wait to take the class Shaman into some this week's raid testing as well. But as always, I do want to thank all of you guys so much for watching the video, and hope all of you enjoyed. If you did enjoy it or found the Shaman update informative, go ahead and give this video a like. I would very, very much appreciate it. Join our Discord community team to keep the Shaman discussion going with the rest of the community. Also, let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see all of you guys in the next one.